What are the misconceptions people have about weight loss? You've touched on it a little bit, but if I've come to you and I say, listen, Dr. Lyon, I'm going to be honest with you, I just want to lose some of this belly fat. I just want to be lean and I want to be beautiful. Should I get liposuction? What diet should I go on? What would you say to me?
First thing that we have to figure out is your muscle mass. I mean, this is a little complicated because I would, of course, ask them how we got to where we were.
Right.
How did we get here? Are you emotionally eating? Are you, I don't know, not sleeping? Are you drinking too much? What are you doing? What are we up against? What are the actual tactical behaviors that we're up against?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, let's go. We got to build some muscle. We have to work on some body recomposition. And really, the two ways that we're going to start are the two basic, and that is diet and exercise.
So no liposuction?
I mean, Stephen, if you wanted to, I do know a great plastic surgeon.
Okay.
But no, unnecessary. And again, this goes back to this hyperfixation on body fat. When the conversation should not be about obesity drugs or body fat, the conversation needs to swing back to not about making people less obese, but to making them have more healthy skeletal muscle.
What's the link though? So how is having more skeletal muscle going to, the glucose is going to be stored in it. So that means less glucose is going to be stored in my belly fat. My metabolism is going to be better, you said as well.
Yeah,
So
your ability to store glucose will be from, obviously stored in your liver, but skeletal muscle is the primary site for glucose disposal.
Am I going to be less hungry?
Now, that is a great question. And there is observational data, and I say this very hesitantly because it hasn't been published yet, but I believe that we are going to begin to see that skeletal muscle has a role in appetite regulation because of receptors on skeletal muscle. You will not find anything out there yet, but I do believe that there is observational data from some of my colleagues that are doing research that we will see that there is some appetite connection with skeletal muscle.
Will I burn more calories when I'm working out if I have more muscles?
You will.
What about Ozempic? Should I consider a little bit of Ozempic on top?
It depends on how long you've been struggling.
Okay.
I do recognize that these are very complex issues, whether it's Ozempic or Mounjaro, GLP-1s or GIP. These drugs are here to stay. I do think they play a role. I know you had Dr. Tina Moore on. I am fully in alignment with much of what she said. There is an absolute role for this. I will also say that why is it that within that conversation of body composition, why is it that it is so much more socially acceptable to give someone a medication to decrease obesity, yet the idea of giving someone a medication or an anabolic like testosterone or a testosterone derivative would be shocking to people? I can administer a drug to make an individual less obese, but there's an incredible amount of stigma if I wanted to administer a drug to allow someone to have stronger, bigger muscles.
What kind of drugs would you administer to give them stronger, bigger muscles?
Testosterone would be my first one.
How much testosterone though?
It depends.
Michael, who was on the podcast previously, he told me that taking testosterone and steroids made him angry and gave him really vicious thoughts, dark thoughts.
But Michael is a professional bodybuilder. And we know that there is health and wellness, and that those that operate at the pinnacle of their sport, that does not mean that those individuals are training in a healthy amount, right? There is a cost of doing business at the peak of anyone's career in anything. And from a physical standpoint, certainly. That utilization would be different than someone coming to say, hey, I need to work on my body composition. The big point here is the dichotomy and conversation between the two, it's fully skewed in the way that it is much more acceptable to give a medication to address obesity and much less acceptable to give a medication to address skeletal muscle mass. And I personally believe that that conversation needs to shift.
A lot of people say that Ozempic causes muscle loss as well.
It doesn't.
Really?
I have not seen a direct mechanism of action that Ozempic affects skeletal muscle in a negative way. In fact, I have seen the contrary. There is evidence to suggest that Ozempic and individuals like these drugs in this class can actually support skeletal muscle health. The reason individuals are losing muscle mass on these drugs are because they are not training and managing their dietary protein. There's only two ways to stimulate skeletal muscle, and that is through resistance training and dietary protein. You cannot out-medicate poor behavior.
Oh, but because they're on a appetite suppressant like Ozempic, that means they're probably just not getting their protein.
We utilize these drugs in my medical practice all the time. We track body composition all the time. It is routine. We track muscle mass. We do not see a decrease in skeletal muscle mass when individuals are dosing protein appropriately and training.
Does Ozempic and that category of drugs rob people of a certain psychological mindset benefit?
That's a wonderful question. And here is what I would say as a physician who is in practice. Removing physical obstacles are critical. And individuals can spend time obsessing about their body. Just really, it can infiltrate their thoughts. It takes away from their capacity to show up in life, to be present, because they're worried about their weight. And can you imagine if someone was struggling with that for a decade or 2 or 3? Now we have a new class of drugs that will take away, in part, a desire to binge eat, or take away, in part, a desire to even potentially drink alcohol. What it allows for is physical freedom. Do I think that that comes with a cost of not doing the hard thing and doing those kinds of behaviors? It does. It does make things easier. However, there is utility in that.
Yeah, because if someone suggested it to me, I'd say the first thing I'd say is, Dr. Lyon, what's the cost? Because nothing's free in life. And if I don't know what the cost is, that's even more scary. I'd rather be able to balance the trade-off, but not many people are giving me many costs with the Ozempic at the moment.
Well, number one, you don't need it, right?
Yeah.
You would not be someone who needs Ozempic or Mounjaro or Zepbound. You just wouldn't be someone who needs that. But I do actually believe that this, in combination with hormone replacement therapy, is going to be the way of the future for longevity.
What's the cost?
I cannot tell you what the cost is, and here's why. Because people will say it slows down gastric emptying. Yes, that's exactly what it is supposed to do. Will that have a meaningful outcome? Not necessarily. These drugs are not new drugs. This class of drug is not a new drug. It has been around for the last 20 years. I know at least for the last 10.
There must be a cost, though.
The cost is when you go off of this,
Yeah.
you likely have, and again, this is just my perspective, is once you titrate off, then normal hunger cues should return. And if you do not have appropriate strategies in place, an individual will then begin to struggle, potentially regain the weight.
Have you seen this?
I haven't. We take people off these medications all the time.
And they don't rebound?
They do not rebound. They do not rebound. But again, we do very intensive lifestyle interventions. We also figure out why people got into the place or the hole where they are starting. Why? Right? You say there's no free lunch, and maybe the no free lunch is you have to address old trauma. Maybe one will really have to explore the way in which they cope, right? Cannot cope with emotional eating. Like you cannot do these things. If you want to maintain your body composition as you age, you have to be accountable for these things.
Did diets work? Do you ever put someone on a diet?
If they're over consuming calories, yeah.
And what does that look like?
For us, I mean, we've been doing this for a very long time. The first thing that we decide is dietary protein, which is unfortunately seems to be the most controversial macronutrient, which, by the way, you looked at me crazy and you're absolutely right. Why would any macronutrient be controversial? But dietary protein, again, it wasn't like this until the influx of social media. And what do I mean by that? Dietary protein, it just seems as if there's always a reason why people are trying to remove it from the diet, which seems somewhat ridiculous and counterintuitive. The first thing that we do is we recognize that dietary protein is what the foundation of any solid nutrition plan should be built on. And that is 0.7 to 1 gram per pound ideal body weight. If you eat high nutrient-dense foods like animal products, you could probably go to the lower end at 0.7. If you are someone who does not eat any kind of animal product, you're probably going to be closer to 1 gram per pound ideal body weight of whatever that source of protein is. But protein is what is going to maintain hunger. Dietary protein does cause an increase in GLP-1 in the body. And people will talk about that, although it's only meal to meal, which is, so, you have these GLP-1 agonists, which improve satiation.
So like a Ozempic is a GLP-1 agonist, which
Yeah.
makes you less hungry.
Yes, dietary protein, in part, works on that same kind of mechanism, also releases GLP.
Which makes me less hungry?
Yes.
Okay.
Or improve your satiation.
Okay.
Dietary protein, we know, can help regulate hunger, can also maintain blood sugar, right? If you have carbohydrates in check, not a very efficient way, but your body can generate glucose from dietary protein.
A lot of people associate protein with like bodybuilders and stuff like that.
I know, it's such a mistake. It's a mistake because as individuals age, they need double the minimum recommendation to prevent a deficiency. The current recommendation is 0.8 grams per kilogram or 0.37 grams per pound. If someone was 115 pounds, their dietary protein recommendation would be 45 grams. That would be the minimum to prevent a deficiency. As individuals age, they require more dietary protein because skeletal muscle becomes what we call anabolically resistant. It means it becomes less efficient at utilizing dietary protein if you were to eat the way you did maybe in your teens and 20s. Body at that time is extremely anabolic.
What does that mean?
You look like you're pretty fit. Have you always been pretty fit?
No. Pretty fit in terms of what, though? I've not always had as much muscle mass as I have now, but I've always been fit as in playing sports and stuff my whole life.
And has it been easy to put on muscle?
Generally, I'd say yes. When I was younger, it felt a bit more difficult, but I just think I had things wrong. I don't think I was consuming enough calories.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got to sort of 25, 26, 27, it became a little bit more straightforward.
Which is amazing. Your body is highly anabolic. You are now consuming calories, protein, you're able to put on skeletal muscle.
Mm-hmm.
That tissue is very anabolic. It's sensitive to the foods that you're eating, to the stimulus you're providing. As you age, that tissue becomes more resistant.
I've got friends that tell me they can't put on muscle easily.
How old are they?
One of them's 27, and the other one I think is about 29.
Okay.
And they're men, and they've told me that no matter what they do, they just can't put muscle on.
Well, first things that I would do is ask them what they're doing. Are they consuming enough calories? Do they have enough protein?
Where do you think they're going wrong when I said that?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah.
The first thing that I thought was I am seeing a huge increase in low testosterone levels in younger individuals.
Interesting.
And I know it's just me and you and not the millions of people that watch your show, but the medical answer would be they should look at their diet and training and sleep. But what I am seeing clinically is that young men have increasingly low levels of testosterone.
And how does that link to them not being able to put on muscle?
They are less anabolic than they should be.
What does anabolic mean?
Building. They are less capable of building.
Okay. If I, this is a problematic question. Is there any way to tell if someone has low testosterone just by kind of looking at them?
Some of my colleagues might disagree with this. I would say you could potentially guess, but do they have less hair on their legs? Do they have less muscle mass? Do they have what would look like potentially more estrogen in a male? You know, you're putting me on the spot here, right?
Yeah, but all those things, I was thinking of one particular person. I think all those things are true. So maybe it is low testosterone. So my next question becomes, is there a way that they can stimulate their testosterone without having needles stuck into them?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing is you have to look at lifestyle. What is their diet? You do need nutrients. If they are not sleeping and they're taking potentially recreational drugs, this can all affect testosterone. It can affect sleep. It can affect a number of things. The first thing that I would do is, are these guys sleeping? Are they eating well?
Eating well being the protein we talked about.
Yeah. Are they eating a diet that is fully processed? Are they training? Training in and of itself isn't going to generate testosterone per se, but it would increase the receptors, increase the skeletal muscle receptors, increase those androgen receptors. The other thing that I would say, and this may be a little bit outside the box, but what are they being exposed to? We do a lot of heavy metal testing. We do see a lot of exposures. Those things can affect fertility, whether it's lead or mercury, those kind of things. Absolutely.
And where do these things come from, these heavy metals? I mean, we're drinking out of a metal cup
I
here.
know. This is stainless steel. I don't think that this gets into the water. They could certainly get it from aluminum cans. They could get it from eating a lot of seafood. They could have exposures. Maybe they're training on weapons, maybe not. They could be getting lead.
You're in great shape.
Thank you.
What do you eat?
Diet high in protein. And I eat a lot of carbs. I train a lot.
So run me through your day. What time do you wake up?
Between 5:30 and 6. My husband wakes up at 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then
that's a problem.
And then what do you do?
I get up. I see if the kids are asleep or awake. Usually one is in the bed, 2 is in bed. And then I get ready to go train. Get up 3 days a week. I head over to meet my coach. Shout out to Carlos Mata. He's the man. And we hit it hard. And I'm usually 5 minutes late every single time. Because in the morning, one or both children will decide if they're going to come with me or not. I include my kids in my training.
How old are they?
3 and 5.
Oh, damn. You're getting them training at 3 and 5?
I am. My 5-year-old is in jujitsu. They have their own kettlebell sets because people and children, they don't care what you say. They care what you do.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.